My name's Charlene.
Hey Charlene, how you doing?
Hi, good, thanks. I've got a buy-to-let property and I want to get started and get my first BRR, possibly HMO, and just, yeah.
Any
see
area in
how I
mind at the
can
moment?
work with that. So my buy-to-let's in Hull,
Okay.
but obviously they've got restrictions on a lot of buy-to-lets in that area. So yeah, anywhere up north where it's a bit more reasonable and rents are decent. So
Are you based in London?
I'm based in London.
Yeah. Whenever someone says anywhere up north, I always assume London
North of
because
London.
literally. But it's all good, all good, all good. Amazing. Well, thanks for joining the call. I appreciate you. All right. Cameron Cheshire currently have a buy to let looking to add to the portfolio with HMOs. Okay, I think Cameron just dropped off. He's come back in again. All right, cool. So yeah, let's get it started. So I guess who's got the first question? Fire away. Happy to do it through the chat. If you're confident enough to come on the call and ask live on the call, happy for you to basically mute yourself and ask a question, and we'll go from there.
I have a very burning question. Can you hear me?
Yes, all good, all good. You're good.
Yeah. So basically, what kind of capital do we need to start with? This is the what amount of capital do you need to start with to get rolling? Because especially in a position where I'm about to release equity to do this, just no idea. You hear people saying all sorts of things from 5K to 50s.
Definitely not 5K. So it obviously depends on where you are investing in the UK. So to get started in HMOs, there's several ways, I guess, and different locations, and each area will determine what price point you're coming in at. But if you take a UK average, where the average property in UK is around 270K, and you're assuming a 25% deposit, that's easily 70K plus, and that's just the deposit to put down the property. Obviously, in reality, there's a lot more structuring and financing from the bridging lenders and stuff to help towards the purchase. But on average, minimum 100K is what I'd expect in any area of London. I guess again, it depends on the type of HMO conversion you're doing. If you're buying a house and maybe you're doing like a small HMO, personally, it's not something I advise. I don't believe anyone should be doing less than a six-bedroom HMO. Six-bedroom HMO should be the baseline, bare minimum. You do even for me, the sweet spot is seven bedroom HMO as a starting point. Just because we're in a high interest period, bills are higher than usual as well. So energy bills. So if you want to try and make sure you are always going to be in a profit, then you want to be on the larger side of the HMOs rather than be in a 4 or 5 bedroom HMOs where if one tenant leaves, two tenant leaves, you're kind of maybe breaking even or even maybe losing money potentially, depending on your outgoings or your mortgages, bills, and you're covering bills, right? Council tax, energy bills, that's all you. So we want to be on the larger side of HMO where there's more margin to see £1,500, £2,000 profit per property. So even if you lose a few rooms, it doesn't matter. Like you're in a great place to kind of weather the storm if there's a storm. So you're kind of protecting the downside.
So basically, definitely took it from the point of view of for HMOs, it's about purchasing a property, not like a rent to rent.
No, so this isn't a rent. So I'll be real. If you're so this call.
I don't want to do rent to rent. I just want to know how it's works.
Yeah. So we're buying. Everyone on this call is here. So I only buy properties. I don't believe in rent to rent. I don't think rent to rent are wealth creation strategies. And I get people want to get started and get the ball rolling, so they might want to start lesser strategies. But for me, I'd rather have the slow start, which is to work my way up to buying, because for me that's where the real wealth is created. And if I'm just going to get into something potentially just for the sake of cash flow, my opinion is I'd rather just work a higher paying job or just look to upskill myself in a work environment to get a higher earnings to allow me to save bigger chunks of money to start buying. So I'm okay with starting and having a slower ramp up of getting into owning assets. The reason why I say that as well, the reality is you are trying to create another business on the side of having a job, which is time intensive. Like it's time intensive. These lower end strategies require a lot of time. So if you're someone that's obviously working a job, trying to build a rent-to-rent business or deal source and whatever it is, that requires time to see great amounts of like deals being done and deal flow being done. It's a full-time job. Like there is no get one property and you're financially free. It doesn't quite work like that, unfortunately. So 100% for me, I advise anyone coming into property, like just play the slow game. It's okay. Like wealth creation is a slow game. It's never been this thing that happens overnight where you make money. And I think at the moment, there's a lot of people out there who want to tell you you can get rich tomorrow and blah, blah, blah. That's not a reality, unfortunately. you've got to own assets over a long period of time to see wealth being created. So I know to answer simply, yeah, we're talking about buying a property, we're looking to renovate that property and look to rent that property to either working professionals, students, whatever demographic you're looking to rent to. But again, I'm kind of biased to renting to the best tenant profiles possible, which in my opinion are high earning working professionals who have aspirations to actually buy a property in the long term. I know they're interested in their credit score being intact, so they're going to make sure they pay on time, to not have any issues with their credit files being impacted due to non-payment of rent, or even worse, potentially tenants that might damage your property. So these are tenants potentially that will look after your property because they're paying a higher rental income, than maybe the lower end stuff. So I'm big on like just being very calculated with who you rent your properties to, just to ensure as well like you are creating a sustainable portfolio long term to come. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So we are actually HMOs. You're kind of saying we're starting relatively.
Go for it. I'm here. Don't worry.
Yeah. So with HMOs, you're saying starting relatively large because you're saying 4 to 5 beds was small.
Yeah. So again, like anyone that's in my mastermind, we don't touch anything. The teaching is 6 and above, just based on what I've said before. High interest rate period and energy bills being at all time high as well. It's you're eating into your profits.
And that would be based on area selection. So my BTLs are in London.
Okay.
Would you say doing a HMO from London?
So in London, I can give you some case studies. Like in London, you're going to spend anywhere 250 plus, like in total capital required to do a deal. But the difference is these are larger assets, right? So you're probably buying a property for between 500k to 600k, and on the front end, and these properties are revaluing at 1.1 million, like 1 million minimum. So again, I guess it depends. Everything's nuanced, right? It depends where in London. I'm assuming it's somewhere where the price point is 600k, or between 500 and 600k, and usually those 6-7 beds properties will be on the low end, maybe 900k, and upwards of there 7 beds, 8 beds will even be more. So you're pretty much getting a larger asset base, one in terms of asset value. And again, those type of refurbs are the 200k plus refurbs. So these are back to brick conversions, obviously brand new property internally, and maybe extensions on the property as well. So that's kind of the expectation coming into this. So I guess it depends how much capital you're looking to release.
That's where you guys come in. That's the it's due for a remortgage in November. So I'm literally, and I put it in my diary. I want to start like researching now.
So I guess how much is the property worth?
They're all 1 bed flats, so I think they're worth in the region of about anything between 270 and 300. The mortgages on them remaining is about 100 on each one because I've just been paying it down.
Okay, good. So you probably got a good. It depends as well, like what the remortgage numbers look like, but you definitely got more than 100k of equity that you can release from the properties and still maintain holding those assets. So across the maybe a couple of them, but yeah, I think there's definitely 100k plus. I'd like to say, but again, the mortgage broker will take you through that and understand what the numbers look like, what the interest rates need to look like for that type of deal. So yeah, it just depends what you can pull out. Again, big advocate for raising capital as well to be able to scale. Because you can rely on your money, but your money is a finite resource, right? If you want to do bigger things and scale faster, then you're gonna need to find other avenues to be able to scale. And in my opinion, raising capital is a great way to allow you to scale.
And that's where you're talking about the bridging and things like that.
So no, this is private investors. So you've got a bridging lender who might borrow you around 65% loan to value, so towards the purchase price. And you're going to put down maybe 35% and upwards of a deposit amount towards that property. And then also you kind of have to cover your stamp duty fees, professional fees, and then money to start the works, which is usually about 30k for most bridge lenders. And that's what I mean by like minimum, the combined figure you need all in is a minimum of 100k. And it's upwards of that. In London, it's easily 250. Your stamp duty loan could be 30-40k. So again, just depends on the type of assets you're buying, but that's kind of the expectation going into it.
Okay, thank you.
I would definitely like tune in if you're obviously not familiar with the process, how things work, and how HMOs could work in terms of the whole barrier to finance. I'll definitely look at the YouTube channel to kind of get more in depth. I break down a lot of it. I run some deal analysis on some deals as well, like an 8-bed HMO on my YouTube channel. So you can definitely check that out to kind of get more familiar with the strategy as a whole, and explore how that could work for yourself.
And lastly, sorry, so many questions. The general demand for HMOs, I'm gathering on that basis, is still quite high.
It depends where you like. Again, this is without going to like granular details on how to assess demand and stuff. But you have to qualify demands. I can't just say go to any area and pick a property and it's going to work. No, that's not true. You do have to qualify that demand in that area to understand if it works for HMOs. If there are restrictions for HMOs in the area, i.e., Article 4 restrictions in those areas, then you need to understand how to navigate past that as well if you still want to invest in the area. So it's not a straightforward answer, unfortunately. But yeah, there is definitely HMOs that are needed across the whole of UK for sure.
Perfect.
Amazing. All right, so I want to run through some of these questions. So let's go back up. All right, Mihai. Sorry, my mic and camera is playing up. What's the advantage of buying all HMOs under one limited company versus separate limited? So just simple maths. Let's say you had 5 companies. Having 5 companies, having 5 HMO properties, all in separate companies, you're gonna have to file accounts each year for that company. So let's say your filing fees are £1,500 to £2,000 a year for your company management, so your accounts, bookkeeping, everything. So you're at least gonna spend 10k on just doing filing for that company, versus if you had the one, then it's just one set of fees. So the only reason why you'd want to maybe put them into separate companies if you're trying to protect the assets individually and maybe have plans to pass them individually to other people, maybe I mean like tax planning stuff maybe, but there is no literally you wouldn't everyone for personally myself anyways. I've always put something all of them within the company, in one company to allow me to just have more flexibility, just having everything in one place than having I don't know said number of companies for the purpose of just holding one asset. So Mihai, I hope that answers that and that's clear in your mind. It'll be good to kind of hear back, but I'll assume that's you've heard that, so I'm going to move on. All right, Cameron Patel, what's your opinion on buying ready-made HMOs? It depends what stage of life you are and like how cash rich you are, right? If you've got £1 million and you can't be bothered to do the whole barrier to finance and you've just got money to put into assets, then you're great at making cash, right? Like you've got great cash flow business, maybe you got great cash flow from somewhere, I don't know, whatever. And you know, every 100k you put into property, you might get back, I don't know, call it maybe 15k net profit per year, and that you're happy with that, then you would just do that as a play, right? Of just putting 100k's, finding a property, we can put 100k each to buy these properties and just have that as an outcome each time around. But obviously the reality is you could make your money work harder for the upfront work, which is to learn how to buy the property and renovate the property with a team and allow you to benefit in terms of your having a higher ROI. Because you might see I don't know, 15% return on your money. Just maybe again it depends where you are. Maybe not. Probably there's always markups with these high-end HMOs or ready-made HMOs, should I say? So you might see maybe 10%, 15, 10 to 15, whatever the number is. But the point is, you could see a much higher return if you did went through the process yourself, rather than just relying on someone else to put it out and just charge a premium for having a cash flowing asset. And also, I say like, especially the ones where they tenant the properties for you. Like, I don't know what management they place. I don't know how good the management is in place to manage a property. Because for me, you can have an amazing asset in terms of a building that looks amazing and ready to rent out. But if you've got tenants that are not paying you rent, or the worst of tenants, or even worse, even sold something that isn't the best of areas long term, then you bought something blindly and not understood. So I think even if you're going to buy ready-made HMOs out, you need to understand what's happening as a cycle of buying these properties and understanding how to qualify HMOs correctly, rather than to be sold this thing. Because remember, the person that's selling you this deal is motivated by trying to make this deal look amazing on the front end, because once they sell you it, they walk away and you're left holding the baby. So you want to make sure you really understand what you're buying if you're going to buy ready-made HMOs. Like, really understand how to qualify demands, what the management, who the management are, how good are they at managing HMOs? What's the experience with managing HMOs? What type of tenant profiles are you going to get for these properties? Just the full end spectrum of like what to expect going into that deal. It's the same thing like people come in and say, "Hey, can you source me?" I get a lot of messages. "Oh, Alfred, can you source me a HMO?" I'm like, stupid. Sorry, it's just because I'm like, I could just package anything, right? I can just write something on a piece of paper that says, "Hey, you can buy this property for this number. It's gonna refurb this number. It's gonna like revalue at this." But the reality is, you have no know-how or expertise of what good looks like. Most of the people that at least are asking the question don't know. Because if they did, then they would just find the property themselves. I really believe if you understand how the stuff works, it's not as hard as it might seem to find a property that you can buy. It's just understanding how to actually find a property in the first place that is good for the purpose of a HMO. So it's a similar logic is how I apply it. But like I said, in this case, if you are cash rich, you've got money, and you prefer to use the time elsewhere where you probably could make more money, and then your job is just to literally make the money, park into assets, that's a play as well. But I would probably look at buying a portfolio as opposed to just one-offs here and there. That's how I would play that game if I was to do it. I don't know if someone's speaking. I'm gonna mute. Okay. Charlene, do you avoid article areas? So it depends. It honestly depends. There is no right or wrong with this. It's more of a limitation of. I think Charlene's just come back in. So Charlene, I think you asked a question around, do you avoid Article 4 areas? And my response to that is simply, it depends on how, again, I guess how much you know on investing in Article 4 areas. You can still buy properties in Article 4 areas. Just imagine the stock level that maybe you might be able to go into or that's readily available might be very limited, because your chances are some areas will allow further HMOs to be built, but they have to be existing HMOs in these areas that maybe have further units that can be added to it, and that's how you're going to get a approval through planning for the additional units being added. So it's going to be a value add project in the sense you're adding further units to it, but there might not be like a readily available stock of these properties, because this is circumstance based, right? It's got to be a retiring landlord who is looking to exit the market and in essence for you to pick up and then renovate. But if there's no landlord looking to exit the market for a reason, then you can't buy stock in that market and you can't do any deals in that market. So if you want faster deal flow and be able to accelerate quicker, then ideally you want to avoid article areas to begin with. But if the area is amazing and it's a great area, then happy like 100% you want to see how can you improve your marketing. So how can you find off-market deals? How can you get in front of landlords who have properties who are looking to exit the market, make them aware of who you are, and start to create a pipeline of deals where these retired landlords are all coming to you to sell their HMOs to you, where you can add value to these properties and be able to be in a great area. Because usually the areas that are marked up as out of 4 have been good areas to invest in the first place. Hope that makes sense, Charlene.
Yeah, thanks.
Amazing. So, Lewis, I have a question about valuations.
Can you hear me?
Yes, all good.
Yeah, so this is a question that's always been stuck with me, and I've asked like a lot of people who have given me an answer for this as well. But like, how do you come about finding your end or target GDVs when it comes to like your 6-bed conversions? So if you've turned a 5-bed into like a 6-bed, how do you?
So just I'm gonna flip back at you. Actually, first of all, your name looks very familiar. I don't know if I know you from somewhere or just.
Well, I've joined your app, the school app, but that's about it. I haven't really.
Oh, okay, cool. I don't know. Just see. Okay. Anyways, it's just more of a curious question. All right, fine. And I guess what have you been told so far in terms of how to go about assessing this?
Some people say like you should really work backwards. So you should call up. Like Rick surveyors, and they might not tell you, but you can kind of like beat around the bush and ask them like, you know, you might come on the VSA or VAS panel or something like that, and
That's panel,
I just
yeah.
want to kind of get get like an idea of the kind of yields that you guys are using based in this area. Some people also saying, well, I think that's the one that stuck with me. But like, I'm hearing like multiple different things, but I kind of want to hear from you. Like, how do you go about finding out or get close to your target?
Yeah. So this is a kind of a, I don't know what noise is out there, but for me, it's a very simple answer. There is a like calculated way to be able to understand how to get in valuations. That is a route to try and get one. So you can speak to surveyors in the area to try and get the numbers from them. But like I said, they don't owe you anything, so they're not incentivized to tell you anything. And some won't tell you anything, some will. So it just depends who you get on the phone call when you're speaking to them. One way for sure is if you are investing in an area and you know there's a broker who is like doing deals in this area. A broker will have all the data sets. They've had clients who've invested in areas, got valuations done. They can tell you who the valuer was, what valuations they got. They probably can't share their address, but they might be able to give you it depends again how much relationship you have with that broker. And again, it's all comes to relationships, right? You learn properties, it's a relationship business, and the more relationships you have, the more easy the game becomes. So if you are in good relationship with brokers, and you can find out what valuations other investors in a certain area are getting. If that's their patch and they know very, very well, they can even point you to the valuer and like, this is who we use all the time for all our best valuation HMOs. So that's one way. Another way is to find investors in those areas. So again, a lot of people are documenting their stuff these days in terms of areas. So whereabouts you investing, or whereabouts you looking to invest in, or where you invested in?
Well, actually, went to view a place in Coventry actually, but yeah.
So I can tell you now, Coventry. So it seems like I'm an investor in Coventry, so I can tell you what the numbers are in Coventry. So Coventry is 470. Again, this assumes you're at least making 50k a year in rental income. So like, that's just, I can tell you everything about it. So Coventry, 460, 470 is what you're looking for. But what I would say is that's a blanket statement, right? Just because I said 460, I don't know where you are investing. This is again assuming prime areas, CV1, which are not where it is, but the lesser areas might not see 460. You might see 430, 445. So it's all nuance, and this is where you kind of need you have to kind of be in a network where you can really granularly break this down. It's like me giving advice. It's just generic advice. It's not really, in my opinion, valuable advice, because it's like until I know exactly what property you're talking about, what street, what room size you're getting, how many studios versus how many en suites versus if they're all off suites, what's the total rental income. That's what would tell me, okay, cool, this property makes sense at this valuation figure or not. So I can tell you what I've got, which I have, and it's pretty much on my YouTube as well, documented. So, but that doesn't mean you're going to get that. But what you will do is, if you're doing things correctly and you know what you're doing, then you should be getting a valuation before, like a rent valuation prior to you buying the property. So you know day one, even if you're guessing numbers, you're going to know before you buy the property. We should be. If people are buying without knowing end figures, I don't know what they're doing. I just can't make sense of that. I just think it's very stupid. You're risking a lot of money and not knowing what your outcome is, especially if you're using investor finance. You really got to know what your numbers are, and you're playing a game of like literally controlling and managing your downside. And so for me, I've gamified the process. I've never been downvalued. I've never gone into do not knowing my deal, because this is a clear process to follow. There's a blueprint I have that's allowed me to be able to go on the front end, know what my numbers are, and I know what my outcome is on the back end, and the numbers always stay the same or gone higher, just based on the finish we had and the value either aligned into it or think I actually done a better job than what I even imagined. So that's the case, but you should be going in with a clear game plan, and there's very minimal risk at that point. It's like, it's a layup. The risk is the build process. Because if you have a bad build team, then unfortunately it doesn't matter what your numbers say. You're not going to get an end outcome of having a product that can be rented out. So it's, can you find a good build team to deliver on the project? And if you can, then your outcome should be achieved because you've got the product you want. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Thanks for that. Just trying to figure out, like, because I've been doing a lot of research on Google as well, and they're coming back with like yields of 10%, or valuers might come back with like 9%.
That's all. Like, again, this is the point. So again, everyone listening in, like, this is all got like it's just pointless. Like, you could read as much as you want. At the end of the day, you are paying for someone's opinion, and that's the most like realist thing I can tell you. You are paying for a valuer's opinion. You could have two valuers in the same company have two different yield numbers. and that will affect what valuation you get in the back end. So it's like, it's not even when someone says, oh, go to Lovett, it's not just Lovett. Who in Lovett is giving the valuation of a yield of 8.59%, for example? Like, that's how granular we're getting with the detail to kind of gamify the process. Because if not, you're just like, okay, cool, you should get this number. You go buy the property, think you're going to get this number, and you don't get the number. You're like, oh, fuck, I've been downvalued 40, 50 grand.
Yeah, that's the worst thing ever.
So it's in this way, kind of having the help and support, just someone that knows they've been and done it several times, just maps it out and says, okay, this is step 1, step 2, step 3. It's very hard to go wrong. And I guess you've got to be a student, right? If you're not going to be a student to listen and just follow instructions, then you will still make a mistake. It's as simple as that. There's even someone in the mastermind, she knew that she had to, number one rule, when you're seeing, I think people judge valuation and valuers who to go with based on sometimes the base is based on the price. It is nothing about the price. Even the lender, the valuer leads dictates what lender I go with. Because ultimately, I want the outcome of the end valuation. That's more a priority than even me getting a better rate per se from a specific bridging lender. So I want to go with the guy that's going to give me, if I want to make 560 or 600, whatever the number is for end valuation, I'm finding the valuer is going to give me that number, and I'm going to find out what lender they work with, and whatever rates that lender works with will be very marginal to maybe the one that might be a slightly less or slightly cheaper in terms of like the cost of borrowing. And I'm like, well, I'm going to go with the slightly higher rate, because if I go with that lender and I can't get the value I want, then I'm likely to not get the valuation I want, which, well, if I got to pay 5 grand extra in fees or whatever versus a 50k down value or even 100k down valuation. In her case, almost 200k down valuation because she was in London. And it's like, she knew she had to go with the person who she had to go with, but the person was taking their time. I'm like, I would have just waited. An extra week, 2 weeks doesn't make a difference. It just guarantees the number you want. And literally the guy emailed saying, yeah, if you'd waited for us, literally the valuation she wanted, she would have got for sure. And he confirmed. And so then she has to go pay for a new valuation. Just silly mistakes like that. So it's like, you can be told things, but everyone sometimes have their own plans and want to do what they want to do. And unfortunately, if you're not going to be a student to this game, then you are going to make mistakes. And it can be very costly. Like, HMOs are not for the faint-hearted. It might seem from the outside maybe something that people think they can go and do, but the reality is you do need to know what you're doing, and there's so many nuances around how to do this deal. There's just so much to it. It's not just buying properties, because if it was, everyone would be doing this and making a lot of money from doing it. So 100% guidance, support, knowledge, network, shortcuts, all of that, and eliminates a lot of the mistakes you could face trying to do this yourself. So yeah, my best advice to you: stop guessing, stop searching, stop searching on the internet, get into a network and get the help you need. All right, amazing. Charlene, what is a good area to invest with 60k budget? Honestly, there's no one in our mastermind putting 60k into a deal. The lowest 100k in this kind of Midlands, but I would even say now maybe slightly higher, more 120. So it's a good starting budget. So people that come in the program have that level of capital and will raise capital alongside their capital to be able to do the deals in the areas they want to do deals in. You can go to like, I personally don't believe buying properties less than 100k or like the 100k property. I'm just, again, another rule of mine. I'm a very principled person, and I just believe there's certain ways of doing things. And
sorry, Alfred, can I just stop you? Sorry, I
Yes.
meant 60k as a sort of deposit before you have your the deposit to get a mortgage. So not 60k all in. 60k is the deposit.
yeah, so okay, so then where's the rest of the money coming from?
Plus the bridging, and then to have a separate 30k there, 40k there for the actual build, for the actual.
To start the works. Okay, so cool. So yeah, so that's fine. I just assumed, obviously, when you said 60k, I just assumed that's all in the cap. So all in, you've got 90 to 100k is the budget, which is still close enough. But like I said again, that would factor. It just depends on your bridging terms, what the valuation came back as well, because that will determine how much money you're having to put in day one. And so the more you have, the better, because 100k is like the baseline, like it's the bare minimum. Chances are it'll be 120, 130 even. So this number usually refers to like Midlands. Like, so I think the high, I'll say probably Manchester, Maybe Liverpool as well, but like more people kind of down south, baseline, maybe West Midlands, and down further close to London. Kent is kind of quite a popular area at the moment for deals, and in Kent you're probably putting 130, 140. Again, it depends on several parts of Kent, but yeah, you need to again. My opinion is I'd rather be in more valuable or more expensive properties, just simply because when the capital appreciates in the property, there is a higher reflection of that capital appreciation. So let's say a 10% increase on a London property that's maybe worth $1 million is 100K in equity increase out of nowhere, right? A 10% increase, you might say 20% increase in the Midlands, right? The assets even, let's say 300K, that's still only 60K on a property. No, sorry, I'm saying 10% is still 30K. So I'd rather be in bigger assets personally, so I can see that capital appreciation as well. Because the cash flow is good, but I'm not just in it personally for the cash flow. I want to see the property appreciate over time as well. So putting more down day one is definitely going to sell you better than maybe trying to get in for as low cost as possible. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Alex. Hey Alex, everyone. Multitasking on my wedding anniversary. Not great. Well, thanks for being here, Alex. What's your advice on identifying great locations for HMOs, specifically in towns outside of M25 North, such as Luton, Watford? So yeah, Luton works. I think Luton at the moment issue is getting too generous applications. So 7 bedrooms and above are being rejected at the moment in Luton. Watford, it depends where in Watford as well, I guess. Potter's Bar, I don't know, it's Hertfordshire, but I don't know. Again, without looking more into it, I wouldn't know. But there's several factors deciding on what areas work. Let me just see, how can I measure the local demand for different tenant groups, students, young professionals, key workers? What's your view on Nottingham? Isn't oversaturated? So, okay, let's one thing at a time. So, I guess the whole thing is about how do I find a great area to invest in for HMOs. The reality is, go look at the data in terms of where are you seeing people invest. And the whole saturation word, I've literally made a video about this. I see the saturation as a game of who is the best marketer. Because every market has someone in there. You might argue there's some markets are big, whatever, a lot of people in there. But for me, it actually proves the concept there's a market that exists. There's a market that I can go into and transact in for sure, because people are in that market. There's still more and more people coming in. The question is, can I be someone that has a unique proposition to be able to attract a market share? And for me, that market share needs to be on the high end. I don't want to be in the bottom half of the market. I want to be on the top end. So if I'm coming into a new market, I want to assess how can I be within the 5% of that top end of the market. Because I know that's where, one, there's probably least competition, because it's a higher barrier entry to enter that market. And likely there's probably a unique selling proposition that I've got that someone wants versus the rest. So I'm not part of the noise. And then the third element is like, can I come into the space and have a great product that people can actually attract to in the first place? So I can have good agents who know how to market properties and get people through the door to see my product and be sold my product. And that's, I guess, a freeway element. But like this, to answer simply, it's not a straightforward answer. There's a lot of factors to assess in terms of how I decide what area is going to work. But we've got people all across the country within the mastermind community. Literally most places work. Some work better than others. Some see better returns than others. Some are more higher yields, but lesser capital appreciation and some the other way around. High capital appreciation and lesser yield. Yeah. So it just depends, again, what you're looking for. Obviously, I always lead with location when I'm going for investments. So, like, I would heavily on a pedestal put location as the first thing, because I always say location is the thing that would help you survive in the downturn of the market. If for whatever reason the market is not doing what it needs to do, or things have become tougher, the guys who are in the best locations in those investment areas can weather the storm better than the guys who are maybe in less desirable areas. Like, if you're going into an investment area, like, okay, when someone migrates into the city, what are the first areas they want to live in or look for to live in? And you maybe are on the outskirts, then obviously you're the least favorable in terms of like people wanting to live where your property is. So I've always been central to cities because I just believe when someone comes in, they want to be close to amenities, or at least have the option to be close to amenities. And so I've got the whole market, and that's kind of and more importantly is I can pivot strategies, whether it's if you're a student town, it can maybe accommodate both professional students. It could maybe accommodate social housing if that's what you want to do. I know that's another big topic at the moment, which again I would say I don't believe anyone starting out should do social housing. I don't want to go on a tangent here, but just I don't want to go into it. Just for now, social housing is not a strategy you do on day one of getting into property investment. You got to de-risk and be in a market where, for example, professionals, you've got 6 tenants who are all potentially in 6 different professions. If you've got social housing type property, the chances are you have one tenant, which is basically the provider or the council. So if for whatever reason council's budgets are cut, money is delayed, if those are your assets you're building based on social housing, how would you pay the mortgages if for whatever reason the council says, hey, we haven't received our government money yet, and we can't pay, and then the provider the same thing, that they haven't been paid by the council yet, so we can't pay you. You've got a house full of tenants, amazing, but you have no money. So you very quickly go from, and again, I'm always protecting the downside. I'm like, how can I have a sustainable portfolio? It's not about making money today, because it's always easy to make money today. So you might not see anything in first year, second year, but in the first year you get hit with this, and it's not a place you want to be. Or you might be unlucky and get hit this the first year, and again, that's not a place you want to be. So when you're trying to scale and build upon this, so it's something you do later on the line, and more importantly, I kind of see social housing as like kind of my third choice if I had to, worst case, or struggling to rent my rooms. That's when maybe I might be phoning councils and say, hey, I've got property available, do you guys want to rent this property off me? But again, I've bought in a great location, so I should have the luxury of being able to pivot and move within strategies. And that's again the key point of having a great location, because that is what will allow you to weather any downturns and any things that happen in the marketplace that might not be favorable to you during that year or that period. So location is super, super important. But Alex, I hope that kind of gives you some ideas of like what to assess. But the game is to do what works and not to reinvent the wheel, is what I'll say as well. So if people are seeing success in certain areas, you want to replicate what's improving to work and not try and reinvent your wheel. I didn't reinvent the wheel, I just did what worked. And that's the game. That's how you win. All right, Matt, where are we at? Congrats, getting married, appreciate it. Becoming a father, appreciate it. Been a while since. So Matt used to be in the mastermind. So I'm surprised even as to what brings him on the call. But let's find out what's going on. And I guess it's kind of a different version of the mastermind. So it has definitely changed since Matt. I'm based in Coventry and was a member of Alfred's mastermind and 100% recommend anybody to join. Engage, get and learn. Great people, great group of people. Happy to read my question out. So yeah, Matt, happy for you to come on.
Yeah, hey Alfred, you're right.
I'm good, man. Good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, I seen you put a reel on a few days ago about Coventry and HMOs being dead.
Yes.
And I was just picking your brain, being a bit nosy. Like I live here, so I'm still on the ground a little bit. I was just wondering why you thought that.
Yeah, so that was a podcast I did maybe straight after, maybe like 6 months into Article coming into Coventry. And obviously the podcast is, so obviously my team put a hook, so I didn't post, my team did everything, but the hook was Coventry's dead. But I go on to explain later on in the video as to what I was saying. So the point I was trying to make, it was like, well, previously there was a group of people that were coming into, like investors were coming to Coventry, buying houses and just literally renovating it. Like there was one landlord I knew, or one investor I knew, who came into the market and bought 24 houses and started converting all of them into 6 HMOs. No need to speak to the council, nothing. Had a build team in. They literally said, hey, I think they paid like almost a £2 million contract to say, hey, I need all these houses, 20 odd houses renovated. Just gave it to them. And so like what I meant by that was like people aren't doing that anymore. Like they're not coming to the market and just buying these houses because they can't anymore. They're having to be more strategic and find houses that are suitable for further development, i.e. buying a house that's maybe an article area with a retiring landlord and then looking to add 2 units. For example, there's a guy in the group market at the moment. He's buying on Albany Road. He's bought an existing HMO and he's got the pre-up came back well. LDC's been approved. So now he's looking to get 2 more units added to that. So convert from I think it's currently being run as a 5-bed, but it's basically a 6-bedroom house. But the idea is to get it as an 8-bedroom HMO. So it works. But I mean, what I mean by countries, like I said, it's a hook. It's a marketing hook. It's more of like, it's not as investors aren't as much in the market as it were before Article 4 came in. So it's like literally a ghost town in terms of like seeing a rush of people coming in and buying in Coventry and just buying everything that's available on the market. It's definitely a slower market for sure.
Yeah, it's very quiet now.
Yeah. But it definitely still works. If you're still buying, I think for me, I'm still like I would want to see someone do something in Article. I think the areas around the hospital and stuff, that's all good, but I think that's high risk in my opinion. You're kind of limited to who you can see, and then the valuations as well I don't think stack up as high as they would around the CV1 areas.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could get one in near the hospital, but like I was saying, I think one of the guys who was looking at Coventry, if you're in a lesser area, you might not get 460, 470 end valuation. You probably see a lot less of a number on the back end of that. So because you're just in a lesser area, and you might see lower rents. You might not see it has a higher rent as well for those areas, which then leads to potentially a different type of demographic of tenants. So more voids, less lower payments, lower everything basically. So for me, location is everything. I do not compromise. I even pay more for the right location.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was just more curious about the whole Coventry was dead thing.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so that was all. It's a strong marketing angle. I even said to my marketing, my social media manager, like that was a strong comment. But I listened to the rest of the clip. Like, good, the context is still there, so I'm okay with it. But I think someone listening to that was like, okay, that's a bit like a harsh statement to make. But yeah, all good, amazing.
It's good talk.
Yes. All right. Mihai is below a good deal. 12-bedroom HMO in Sunderland. 300k. See, like, I don't people lead with this, right? And already, like, I'm like, what makes I don't know, Mihai, obviously, unfortunately, you can't come on the call, so I can't even give you proper advice. But my first question is, what makes Sunderland a great investment area? It's like numbers, this means nothing to me. Like 300k purchase price, 500 pounds per room. I don't know what 500 pounds per room in Sunderland means. Is that a average room? Is that below average room? Is that high end room? Is that the most you can get for a room in that area? What type of rooms are you getting in these 12-bedroom suites? Are they 6.5 meter squared rooms? Are they 12 meter squared rooms? Suite on suite. Like, there's so much context and nuance to every single deal. And this is why we've got to really like look into the granular detail before even making any comments on what good looks like, because like it says already tenanted. For me, I would want to see the history of the tenants paying rents. I wouldn't buy tenanted properties just simply because I don't know how good the management is, how good the tenants are. People just massage things to get sales done, and they can fraudulently make anything to say, hey, this tenant's been paying us on time for the last 12 months, no problem, you own the property. Then now all of a sudden everything's breaking apart, and everything that was told might not be true. So I like to get my own tenants in. I know that my tenants will be vetted by my agent, because I know they do a great job of vetting people correctly. Like I've had, on average, I got about 60 tenants, and I've only had, I don't know, even come from a property, maybe 200-300, maybe probably more. I've only ever had 3 non-paying tenants, and 1 ended up paying back, 2 just disappeared off planet Earth, couldn't find them, but that was it. And that's a very low, like, risk perspective. Like, we've only had 3 non-paying tenants, and a bunch of, I'm pretty sure 300 people been through that property in the last 5 years, because there's a high ton of people coming in and out of these properties. So it proves the point of like, you really have to make sure you are getting great people rent your property, because that's the only way you have assets, i.e. making cash flow from the property and there's actually money coming out. Because you have an amazing property, but you put the wrong people in there, then you have a headache of a property for sure. So yeah, Mihai, unless you can come on the screen and share your screen and discuss this more, I can't really comment on that. Unfortunately, it's just like it's very high level stuff, and I can't really tell you what, like, I don't even know what type of tenant profile we're talking about that rent these £500 rooms. Again, are these problem tenants? Or another thing I would say is this house divided into two segments? So it might be 12-bedroom HMO, but is it 2 6-bedroom HMOs? So it's not 12 people interacting with each other. If it's 12 people interacting with each other, for me, it's not a great property. Again, the market share who maybe turn up to the property, wanted to view the property, realize there's 11 other people I'm going to share the property with. They're like, okay, no thank you, I'd rather just be in a smaller HMO. It seems way too busy. So all these things you've got to think about. I want to market to the biggest market share possible. So my property's got to cater for the entire market, as much as the market as possible. The bigger market share I can serve a product to, the better. If my property is so niche to a certain type of person that will buy the property, that will rent the property off me, then imagine this downturn in the marketplace. I have rooms that are not going to be rented. And again, to put some context, like very rarely do we have more than 4 or 5 rooms void, and even if they're void, max within a month. And again, so we're like 90, no, we've never dropped past 90% occupancy across forever. And again, it just comes down to being in the right areas and just having great properties that people want to rent from. So we don't struggle. Like within 4 weeks, we found a tenant. No, it's literally if there's a tenant that's like, hey, I need to leave for whatever reason, like I don't care. I can rent the room tomorrow. It's not a problem. So it's like it doesn't bother me. I think this whole new law coming into place where tenants can give a 2-month notice to leave a property. A lot of landlords are panicking. I'm like, why would I even want a tenant in my house if they're like, I want to leave? Go, goodbye. let me get somebody that wants to stay here. Like it's not a problem, and this comes down to having the right property, right asset, the right management in place to ensure that this is real. Because I know people might struggle to rent their rooms, and it is a thing. Like having rooms rented, you've got a high ton of people coming out through your properties. These are all factors to consider when doing deals. And it's only there's so much nuance to doing HMOs, and I think for the wider world, it just seems like just buy a property and get it tenanted and you make money. Honestly, it's far from the truth. If you don't have the right systems and processes in place, you are going to have a world of pain, from maintenance to turnover of tenants to non-paying tenants to damaging tenants to struggling to rent your rooms, like everything. Bad build team, even worse, just everything. So the right guidance is super, super important to allow you to make sure that you are getting an asset that performs not just in this current market, but in the hard times and when just the years to come in general. So I'm a very principled person. Even the way I teach, like everything's very principally taught. Like I just think about how is money made, where does money come from, what's the flow of money, like that's if you want to make money, right, and like you haven't even understood what money is, where does money come from, how's money made? Because until you understand that, how can you really amass something you don't understand? And you might think you understand what money is, but if you don't understand the foundations of where money's come from and principally what even money is, then like trying to amass it is kind of like it's kind of a fool's game. Like you don't understand the game. So you really got to understand things at a core level to just make sure you're building a great foundation to put upon. And again, I believe like HMOs should be a stepping stone. You should be able to amass a few of these and maybe look to get into bigger assets, commercial units, whatever you want to do, and just buy to do more things. And maybe if you don't, then that's fine as well. You can just buy some HMOs and be good. But I feel like personally, anyways, HMOs are kind of the foundation, and you can then build upon that. All right, so Jane, your name is familiar. Do you lease your HMOs to do you lease your HMOs to social housing providers? Also, I heard that it's harder to get building control approval for HMOs, especially on the fire-related elements. What's your view on this? Thank you. So first of all, no, I don't rent my properties to social housing providers. I don't need to because I'm in great locations and have my rooms rented by professionals all day long. So there is no need for social housing providers. And I don't know if you heard my comment on why I actually believe no one should be. I need to make a YouTube video on this. I think there's a lot of noise at the moment, and I think it's such an unfortunate thing. I think people want to get into property, and I get it. And I think when I say to people, I have a slow start, don't go and do the lesser strategies to get started and quote unquote people think they're building something by doing the lesser strategies. They maybe think I'm being negative, and I'm like, I'm not. I'm actually telling you something that is beneficial in the sense you are, personally, in my opinion, playing the wrong game, trying to just feel like trying to get started on something that maybe isn't going to serve you. And the reality is, very similarly, I don't go to social housing providers because I understand how money works, and I understand how social housing providers are making their money. And in essence, if I'm going down the route of social housing providers, I in effect already are basically saying that I'm happy to have a buy to let, because now I have one person paying me rent. And they might say, "Oh, it's government backed." Okay, but like, these people do go bust. Their money, they don't make the revenue. They get paid by somebody else. There's a lot of conversation at the moment around this whole asylum seeker stuff, if you're kind of doing temporary accommodation, all that stuff. And just in general, social housing funding could be chopped at any minute, because there is an uproar at the moment of people in the UK, because this is basically taxpayers' money. The taxpayers are saying, we don't want to fund this part of the budget. So at any minute, these housing providers could be told, hey, unfortunately, we have been cut. Like, our money's been cut. We get no more funding from the government for this. At that point, what do? You're the landlord. You are accountable for the property. You own the asset. You're paying the mortgages, whether you get paid or don't get paid. So if you are in the beginning of your journey, let's say your first 5 HMOs are also social housing providers, then you're screwed. Because your mortgages across the 5 could easily be 10 to 15K. And if you're not making 10 to 15K a month from somewhere else, or having saved or whatever, or have money around you, to whether 2-3 months of non-payment, because at that point, guess what? You're calling every single social housing provider, if you think about, to say, hey, I've got this property, can you take over management? And there's no one doing it, you're in a world of pain. So my opinion is, don't get started in social housing. Like, social housing should only be like a low percentage of your portfolio. If for whatever reason you're struggling to rent your rooms and you're like, I just want to get rid of this and just want to have it kind of wash its face, then fair enough. Because again, another thing is, most social housing providers don't pay premium rent. So it's like you're getting a bait, and you can try and negotiate, but like, reality is, if you're doing 1 or 2 deals, you're not going to get the rates you want. You're going to get the basic rates. And I know some people massages like, oh, you can get bills covered, or I get the whole perspective, but like, you've got buy to let, and you're at the mercy of the provider paying you. And some might argue, but okay, well, what's the difference between that and having professionals? I'm like, well, I have 6 professionals in that property. You likely have 6 different employers employing these people. There's one, I don't know. I've got 6 different people who are paying rent, who all have to be in the same scenario, lose their job, employers not paying them for every reason. Like, when was the last time you heard employers not paying? It's unheard of. But if you search simple thing of social housing providers not being paid, it's a common thing, or delaying payments. Like, it's a business that has cash flow problems. So that's what I mean by, you got to understand how money works. Not all money is good money, like they like to say. You really need to understand how money works to understand how to play this game properly. It's not just about buying properties and being told, put these people in and you're amazing, you're going to make money and sit on the beach somewhere. It's simply not true. So Jane, I don't know if you heard all of that, but hopefully that's some context for you. And I do need to make a YouTube video on this and really just kind of in-depth explain it, because I think there is a lot of noise, and I think people aren't saying the full end of what it means to have a social housing property. And it's like just selling beginners onto that, and I just feel like it's the wrong thing to do without them having full context of what could happen. And just at the beginning, like, why be vulnerable right at the beginning of your journey? Like, I believe social housing should only be like done by established landlords who've got a massive portfolio, who don't care if 2 or 3 of their properties are not being paid. It's like, I've got 20 properties. Why do I care that 2 or 3 are not being paid? It doesn't make a difference. But it does make a difference if that's all you have. Huge difference. It's very crippling even. So that's kind of my view on that one as well. And I always say, like, just like, to make money, you've got to look at others that have made money. What have they done? I'm not talking about individuals, and I think people, again, take this like blindly and feel like they're going to look at people that have made money. Like, when I look at making money, I don't look at individuals. It's the wrong person to look at. They haven't amassed anything. Like, respectfully. Like, I want to look at who are the biggest holders of money. And these are banks. These are private equity companies. These are pension funds. These are insurance funds, like any private sovereign fund, they have billions, trillions of money that they allocate. And if you look at their portfolio and you look, okay, what's the real estate portfolio like consist of? You're always going to see residential as a bigger share, commercial as a second tier. Social housing, if they have that as part of their strategy, it's a very low percentage. So a beginner now coming into the market thinking, I want to just be hands off and no maintenance, no bills to worry about, and I get paid every single month. If that was the case, all pension funds will have 100% of social housing providers as their portfolio, right? If it was that true. And clearly it's not that true, because that's why they don't have a big share. And it's again, don't take my word for it. Just go and do your research. ChatGPT is available now. Just hey, ChatGPT, what's the share of pension funds or whatever? Where do they allocate their money? What type of assets and demographic of tenants do they like to put their money into? And you'll just find out if what I'm saying is true. And it's only like you gotta understand how money works, and just don't be sold in some bullshit online. Someone just trying to get you on their course or whatever. Just selling you on something that doesn't make sense. Like, be in the highest and the more challenging markets where possible in terms of like barrier to entry. Because there's no competition. There's very little competition. That's where you want to be. Jane, I hope that makes some sense. I know you can come on the camera, but if you can't, all good. Moving on. Where are we? Cameron Patel agreed. Thank you for your talk. I don't know what you're agreeing on, sorry, but appreciate it. Mihai, thank you. Makes sense. Okay, Delapo, which platforms would you recommend to get HMO tenanted? I don't manage tenants, so like that's my agent's job. Like, I pay my management agent money to find me tenants and vet them and look after them. Like, I don't. They obviously market on Rightmove, Zoopla, spare rooms, whatever. But like, that's not my job. I don't need to know. Like, so sorry, Delapo. I know it's a blunt question, a blunt answer, but like, I don't have a job. I'm not trying to manage tenants, so I've never made an ad to market to a tenant. That's the job of the management agent. And again, you when you come into when you work with me, you kind of learn how I work. Like, I truly run a business. I don't want to create another job. Like, we have if you're in the corporate world, for most people coming into this, you're gonna have a job in the corporate world. Creating another job on the side I don't even know why that's even a play. Like, I don't want to be involved in certain things. I don't want to know certain things. Like, there's people hired for the reason because that's their expertise. I'm never going to be as great as them as an expert. They've been in the game 10, 15 years. Who am I to tell them how to manage tenants and find tenants? Like, I'm nobody. So it's like, I want to hire people who've done their business several times over and let them do the job and just make sure I vet them correctly to make sure they're a good person to be part of my team. So yeah, I'm very leveraged in terms of finding the right people to do things on my behalf, and I let them go on with it. I don't need to know the details of how they're going about doing things. Okay, so I just saw Jane. It does make very sense. Sorry, can't talk. Thank you so much for your sharing. Yeah, it's definitely something I definitely want to burst that bubble, because I just feel like there's such an injustice. Like, people just aren't being told and aren't even, like, just haven't done the research, just seen something online and says, oh, go do this, and people just running to do it. So Kes, out of your portfolio, how many of your properties are JV compared to self-funded projects? So I don't have any JV partners. You can go search my company, Property Ventures Limited. I don't have any. It's just me. So that's a quick one. Based on the following numbers, what's the methodology for calculating the maximum price? Maximum, again, Alex. So maximum price, I don't look at what's the. I do have. So I guess I have a way in which I look at the maximum price, but I work based on the end valuation. So I'll pay market. I'll even pay above market value if there's a huge upside on the property that the current owner can't see. Like, I can triple or even like triple the property value on the back end of me refurbishing property. It doesn't really matter what I buy it for. So it's kind of like I never look at the front end. I look at the back end. So what is my end valuation? What's my refurb cost? And what does a reasonable purchase price need to look like for me to get into this deal? That's how I work it out. But like I said, if I want to get in the deal, like another mistake people make is they want to try and get this whole below market value deal. I'm like, that's amazing, sounds great on paper, but I don't care about below market value deal. I care about doing deals. So if I'm going to limit my competition because you want to do below market value deal, but I know this, maybe you don't see what I see. You might think maybe you can only double the property value, so that's why you want a property price which is below market value. But what I see is a triple asset valuation on the back end of doing this. Then it's like I'm going to buy the property all day long at a higher price point. This is why you see an investor want to pay a property for a certain price. You see a builder wanting to pay a property for a certain price because the builder hasn't got the cost of what they basically put into the margins within the build cost. They just got labor and materials, which is a lot cheaper than an investor. An investor has labor, material, and the margin the builder puts into the numbers. So the builder can offer a higher number on the purchase price. If you get to auction room, you see this happen all day long. People are willing to pay more, and it's not, you're like, why is he paying like 50k more? He can afford to pay 50k more because he's not trying to competition and now he has the asset. That's goal number one. To do the deal, you have to have the keys. So it doesn't matter what the numbers are telling you. It's like, what can you get the property for and how can you make the numbers stack? That's the task. So I hope that gives you perspective on that, Alex, and to look at the game in a completely different way. But yeah, Lewis, if your investor has funded your deposit for 8-10% return within X months, but you did not pull out the money on the refinance, how do you pay investor? Do you make sure you have personal funds elsewhere to cover it? How would you deal with this? So there's several ways. It's kind of like solving the problem right from day one. So you know day one what the issue is, i.e. money left in the deal. So it's like, okay, do I look to replace the investor? Can I extend the investor? Can I look to, as people do this whole, they'll buy properties, they'll maybe flip on the side of doing a HMO deal to pull out capital if they haven't got extra capital income outside this HMO deal they're doing. Or some will do every free HMO to do this whole one to pay out the deals that had money left in through the equity that was in those deals created. So there's several ways to skin a cat. There's no honestly there's no right or wrong. It's preference. It's like what game, like how do you want to solve the problem. So all answers you've said there is correct. It's just some will choose others and some will choose another way of doing it. So I've seen it all. Flips alongside HMOs. For every free HMO, sell one to pay down the two. So you haven't got any investors left in the deal, or you simply extend the investor for longer or replace the investor. So these are avenues to be able to solve that problem. All right. So Kalia, have you ever done rent to rent or control the property down? No, don't do rent to rent. Sorry. If you know, you should check my YouTube. There's a reason why I don't do rent to rent. I've never done rent to rent, and I think I've spoken about this. I might come on the call a bit later, but yeah, no rent to rent here. I'm looking at buying. I want to create wealth. I want ownership. I came into property with very clear goals of what I wanted, or not necessarily goals. I came in understanding what I wanted out of property. I wanted ownership and I wanted cash flow. Those are two criteria going into this. And the cash flow I defined as high cash flow, because you can get cash flow, which could be simple buy-to-let. But again, I didn't believe in buy-to-let because you're relying on one tenant paying you rent, and if the tenant stops paying you rent, then you're paying mortgages and stuff. So it's like, okay, how can I de-risk that? And more importantly, how can I make more cash flow from the property than I would from a buy-to-let? So if buy-to-let paying me £300-400 in profit, how can I make £1,000, £1,500, £2,000 from a single property? And HMO was the answer to that. So that's why I went into that. And I just took the slower game of HMO was my first thing I ever did. I've never done a buy-to-let. I tend to have a buy-to-let now, but like I don't start off. When I say buy-to-let, it's like these are apartments, so it's kind of risky, but anyways. But the point is, I didn't go into the market looking for buy-to-lets. I've always looked at HMOs and just larger units and in great locations, more importantly. So what are you offering on your mentorship? I'll come back to that, Cameron. How does money work? Google, sorry, Mihai. Like that's a whole, I could talk an hour on like how money works and like there's books to read. Like just read books on money. There's a lot of books. Rob Moore did a good one on money, comprehensive one on money. But there's a lot of stuff online around how money works and how the economy works. You really have to understand how the economy works, where money comes from, what is money and what's not money. What's the next best non-property strategy after HMO? I see a lot of people into M&A. Any plans for you? Yeah, so M&A is a great space to get into. What I will say is, I think again, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too true. What's the word? I always want to tell the truth. Like on the front end, it sounds amazing. It is an amazing thing, and I'm not saying it's not. I think what people are seeing again is kind of the glorified outcomes of what M&A is. But what people don't realize is the skill set required to become an M&A specialist or someone that goes and acquires a company and scales a company further. Like most people haven't got the credentials or even the business acumen to even go into business and understand how to increase its revenue line or bottom line. So it's like, I can teach someone how to buy a business, amazing, they buy the business, but they're going to lose their money because they don't understand how businesses work. They don't understand, like cash flow forecast, they have no idea. Customer retention, client retention, employee retention, revenue per employee. They don't understand these. Like they don't even understand how. They just don't understand business. So it's like having an asset is only an asset if you know how to like grow it, multiply, whatever you want to call it. It's useless if you have no know how to basically make an asset or keep an asset. Because it will, and this is where the whole point of like wealth creation is not just about passing on assets. Because you haven't, if someone is just been given an asset with no knowledge of how to manage asset, then guess what? Over time, that asset will deteriorate and become a liability, and the asset will be lost. So, like, I guess my advice to anyone going to M&A is go and do some business lessons, understand what business is, become a great leader. It's a big deal to own a company. If you're going to buy a company that's doing a few million, I don't know what size you're buying, but like if you're buying companies that are doing millions in revenue, you really got to understand how to recruit, how to market, how to hire talent, retain talent. What are your ways in which you're going to retain these talents over the years to come? What's your plan to grow it? What's the strategy behind growing it? Sales, there's a lot to it. So it's not this glorified thing of I buy a property and I buy a business. I'm buying the cash flow for the business. The cash flow is only a cash flow if you've got good management in place and you can manage the management. If you can't manage management, guess what? The management over time, again, will lose interest and business will go down over time. So, yeah, it's a great thing, but I definitely would say get knowledgeable in business before buying a business. It's kind of common sense, but people don't see it from that angle. I hope that makes sense to me, Hi. All right, I think that's all the questions. Anyone else? So lease option is better. Yeah, so if I was to pick out lease option versus rent to rent, I would do a lease option for sure. Because at least I've got the option to buy the property over a period of time at a price agreed today. So yes, if I wanted to kind of get in more creatively to a property and do a deal and have a property I can own in the future, then lease option is definitely a higher strategy to rent personally. So yes. All right. Any more questions? Let me just scroll and make sure I didn't miss any. So, okay, I think I've covered all the questions. So I think who had a question about the mentorship? So Cameron. So yeah, so I don't know, some people might have seen this or not seen this. So I do have a mastermind community of basically people that are doing HMOs. I believe some people on the call have actually had a call with my team. Has anyone, I'm just out of curiosity, has anyone on this call had a call with my team just to discuss what the mastermind looks like and how it's structured and how it can be of help? Just simply say yes, no. You want to get gauged in the chat of who's actually been on a call. So Charlene's been, So, like, Charlene, what made you not? I guess what? Yeah, I don't know if you're free to talk about what made you not want to move forward, or why did you not move forward at the time? I don't know how
I
long.
said that I was gonna attend this first.
Okay. So you haven't had the call yet.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I did get a call, but I hadn't obviously been on this session, so I wanted to go on this session first, and then touch base back with them.
So I'm clear. So you had a call, you didn't have a call,
I did have a call, yeah.
and they explained to you what the mastermind was about, or you didn't even get through to that. They said come on the call first.
Yeah, they didn't really explain in detail, to be honest. They said have your call and then we'll touch base again.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So I guess So one thing I would say is like our mastermind is definitely not something about like just putting seats in the bum. It's definitely like we've got to find the right people that we feel like one, we can help, and if you feel like we can, i.e. you feel like you're in the right mindset, someone's willing to be a student, someone that's again has a good mindset coming into something like this, sees the value in investing in themselves and stuff like just the basic stuff, then that's where we kind of invite people in and kind of discuss what the mastermind opportunity is. If that was the case as well, I would just have a landing page, say, hey, here's the mastermind, here's the things we offer, click buy. But I don't just want people that I don't know are going to be a good fit or not coming in. So hence why we have a head of enrollment in place to literally understand who are we speaking to, do they fit what we do over here, can we help them, can we genuinely think we can help them? And at that point, if they do, it's only when they will discuss what the mastermind opportunity is about. So I think, Cameron, obviously I don't know your context, I don't know anything about you, what you're looking to do, and I think you asked one or two questions. I think you said you were investing in Coventry, if I'm not mistaken, right at the beginning. Might be wrong.
It was Cheshire.
Oh, Cheshire, my bad. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Basically, all it was. Are you offering like a course, or is it like?
So I've had a mastermind that's evolved over time, but I do have a mastermind community at the moment. In essence, the way the mastermind works is the outcome of the mastermind is to help you deliver on a minimum of one HMO over the 12-month period of working myself. And there's also a 24-month option, which is to basically help you deliver 3 HMOs. And kind of the way it looks like, we kind of guarantee a 100k equity position minimum per HMO deal is what we kind of expect anyone coming into mastermind as an outcome of the mastermind. And we expect again to see revenue wise minimum 50k and net profit about 20k from a single HMO. And over the 3 HMOs, obviously 150k in gross revenue, and then at least see 60k in profit from that portfolio, and that's over a 12 versus 24 month period. And so,
how close to that would you be working with us?
Yeah, so there's different things. So initially, anyone that comes into the mastermind, we have a one-to-one strategy call with to understand, okay, where you are at the moment, what are the gaps, and more importantly, what's the plan to go from where I am today to have the outcome of whether it's 1 HMO, 2 HMOs, 3 HMOs, 5, whatever the number is, within the time working with myself. So that's clearly kind of devised as a plan. So you're going into the game knowing how to play the game, and there's a clear roadmap. Okay, these are the steps and the milestones that we need to hit. And then we have coaching calls weekly. So we have 2 coaching calls, one on raising capital, because again, I understand capital is, people have a finite resource of money, right? So we're going to understand how to raise capital to scale or potentially start as well. And then we have the HMO workshop. So that's more like detailed stuff. So like sharing screens, running through floor plans, analyzing, area analyzing, anything just around HMOs in general, whether it's negotiating deals. There's a lot to the whole HMO game, and it just depends on what help you're needing. And we'll run through that on the call. We have site days as well. We have 4 site days a year, where basically this is us taking you to HMO, like I have HMO projects, and just walking you through what to expect within HMOs, from back to brick to first fix to second fix electrics to the final HMO product. So you can kind of see the different stages and what to kind of look out for when even selecting the right build team as well. Then we also have twice a year meetups. So this is basically as a community going out on a social event, whether it's dinner. In most cases, it has been dinner. So we'll have dinner, network with people on a night out, basically to kind of network with people within the mastermind community as well. Because I appreciate it's all pretty much online, apart from the site days and the dinner that we have. So that's in essence the offer. We obviously within the mastermind community, so you have access to the educational program. So there's the HMO Blueprint or the Raising Finance Accelerator program as well, which takes you through how to raise capital in detail. That's about almost 30 hours of content across the two programs. So it's a very, very detailed program, just breaking down the principles of how to go about doing this. And then weekly with the coaching. So the way I see is like the education element is to help you understand the baseline of like, okay, this is what the expectation going into this, this is what the principles are going into doing this. And then the coaching calls weekly are to help with the implementation. So as you implement the information, you're going to have questions, you're going to have hurdles, you're going to have certain nuances specific to you. So that's your opportunity to come on a call to ask questions that you need help with and get clarity. Okay, this is how I move forward. You don't have to wait for the calls. Discord, I'm literally available to ask questions too. So any questions, technical questions, whatever it is you need help with, you don't have to wait for the Tuesday calls. You can just simply send a question, a voice, or whatever it is in the Discord community, and I get back to you in a group, pretty much prompt, and you've got your answer, and you can move forward and have clarity and confidence that you're doing the right thing. So support system is definitely solid. I think everyone will vouch. Might have been in the program or a different version of it, but he's already said, yeah, 100% would support.
Let's say you choose the time of the program and you really liking it. Can you expand on to the 24-month or?
Yeah, you can. There's no. Again, people can come in. People have done that. Done the 9 months, 12 months to start off with. And again, I get there's always going to be trust element, and I appreciate everyone's skeptical, and that for me, like, I expect you to be skeptical. So I get that. So yes, you can at a later stage if you decide to want to work longer. Work longer myself. That's no problem. But like I said, it's not just about whether you've got the money or not. That's amazing with the money, but it's more about like, are you someone who genuinely think like, because I'm going to come, for example, simple example. Someone might come onto a call with my head of enrollment and they've come in with the attitude of like they know it all and they just need a bit of information and they're good to go. And I appreciate that perspective, but like the people like that genuinely are not going to be a student and they're going to come in and still make mistakes. So it's like, I'd rather not have the headache of having to deal with someone who isn't going to be a student and just listen and just follow instructions. Because if you can't, then like, you don't need me. Like, why spend the money and be in a network and potentially not get results? Like, I don't want to be around you respectfully as well. So honestly, it really has to be the right person, mindset wise, attitude wise, just cultural fit with what we have going in the mastermind. We have a great network. People have made like friendships in the network as well. So it's I want to maintain that, and for me, that's what I'm building. I'm not just, like I said, filling bums on seats, because if that was the case, I would just have a page ready for you to just pay and just say, hey, I'll see you inside. But like, yeah, and that's another reason why everyone that comes into the mastermind community, before you even get access to the program and the community itself, we have a call first. Just to set a tone, get to know you, devise a plan, and then once all that's done, then you're given access to the other things. And so you kind of have a clear direction where you're going into, again, not going into the thing blind and start doing a course and you don't even know what you're looking at. So it's very structured, and this is why we get great results as well. So people coming at all different levels and done amazing things. So it's just yeah. If you're a great fit, we'd love to work with you, and if you're not, unfortunately, like I said, it's not for everyone. I've said it boldly several times. This is not for everyone, but it's for the right people. So definitely check out the overview page. Like I said, it has the breakdown of a bit more, showing you a bit inside of what the programs look like, and what to kind of expect within the mastermind community. And then also you can book a call with my team to discuss this further. So check those out, and yeah, hopefully, I think there's people, like I said, so Charlene said you booked a call before, but got told to come to call first, which again, like I said, I'm online, right? So it's yeah, if the team thinks maybe there needs to be some form of interaction before as well, they'll always push for that before even discussing anything further as well.
Yeah.
And then I think Janie had a call. I don't know if Jane's still on the call. I should drop. They're still there. But again, I don't know what happened with yourself. If you had a full call, or I don't know. But your name does look familiar. And anyone else that's interested, obviously, like I said, the link is there. You can book in a call and discuss this further with my team. All right, guys. Any last questions? If not, I'm gonna wrap this one up. It's been a great session. It's almost 12 midnight where I am. I'm in Dubai, so it's literally almost 12 midnight. Say again, sorry?
What's the youngest in the mastermind group?
What's the what?
The youngest person as an age?
I'm trying to think. Well, we've had in the past 20. I'll say 23. I don't know what the youngest. I'm trying to think what's the youngest age. Maybe 20. Actually, no. Yeah, I want to say 23, 24 is the youngest right now. I don't. Why does that even matter? Why is that even a question?
No, I was just wondering because I'm young myself, so.
How old are you?
I'm 20 now, so.
You're how old?
20.
Say that again.
20.
You're 20. So like again, my team will kind of quiz you on like, so like what do you do? Like it just depends. We've had people like very experienced at 20 years, 21 years old, like very mature, and you probably couldn't tell how old they are unless it told you how old they were. So like age is not qualifying factor. Obviously, I guess in terms of like getting mortgage and stuff, it does help being older because they see as a more responsible borrower, all that stuff. But 20 is definitely enough to move forward. If again you have the financial backing to be able to do this as well. That's usually the element that's probably the hardest for people that are younger. Is do you have the money to be able to come in on something like this and take it seriously? And if you do, then obviously, there's no reason why you couldn't. But yeah, for me, age is a number. I've seen people do amazing things at a young age. It's just been exposure to information very early on. Like to be 20 and have access to information like this, like you're definitely ahead of 99% of your peers. So it's definitely shows a higher seriousness of yourself and potentially higher caliber person as well. So it all depends. Like my team they're gonna quiz you. And again, guys, there is a reason why the team are gonna like have a discovery review to understand who you are. And like I said, if they feel like based on the response you give them and how you're answering questions and stuff, like if you're going into the meeting like you're very blunt, not really giving anything, again, it's like, hey, look, if we can't have a like constructive conversation by yourself and where you are and how it can help you, then you're probably not going to do well in this mastermind. And just like, hey, unfortunately, this isn't a good fit. Your energy's off. You're like coming on a call, not prepared. You're just all over the place. These are bad attributes. I want to work with winners. And that's just my attitude of life. Like I want to surround myself with winners. I am spending a lot of time with you guys and people that are not you guys, but people within the mastermind community. And I want to make sure I'm not just around guys that I don't want to be spending time with. So like, really for me, it's got to be a great fit, a cultural fit. If it's not a cultural fit, it's like I'd rather not. Don't care about your money, respectfully. It's just like I just don't want to do business with you. It's just that simple. And it's the great thing about just knowing your value, right? Just and not conforming to nonsense. Like just because someone wants to work with you doesn't mean it makes sense. And someone can ask a question about joint ventures. I came into this business understanding what I wanted clearly, and I just understood that joint ventures wasn't something I would do at the scale, and so I just stuck to that. I've never done a joint venture. I've lost millions not doing joint ventures. And someone might say, Alfred, that's an ego thing. I'm like, it's not really an ego thing because it's like I've just have like boundaries, and I don't want to cross those boundaries for a specific reason. For me, it's the bigger picture thing. It's like I want to do bigger things in life, and I don't really want to be tied down to or financially linked to people on in my opinion, a lower scale thing. Like I will have joint venture partners at a much larger scale, like in the hundreds of billions. That's where for me it makes sense. Not at these, like I want to have my personal portfolio and that's it. And then later on, when we build a big business where it makes sense to have a joint venture partner who's got money, who can bring in money and be a financial partner, happy days. If you can write a check for £10 million, we're going to do business. So, and it's just, again, it's a whole different conversation working with someone on that level. So it's just being principled and having your boundaries. And the same thing applies to property. There are criteria to making a great investment, and you've got to stick within those. If you don't, you'll be left holding the baby at some point where you're like, damn, this is a mistake. So stay with the guidelines and build a great asset, great portfolio. All right, amazing guys. I'm gonna wrap this one up. It's been amazing. I don't know when the next one will be, unfortunately. I do try and do this, but I think probably this probably will be the last one, if I'm honest. I think I am going to do something where it will be slightly different to this. It won't be a Q&A setup, and that will likely be a paid entry thing. So again, that's to probably come in the next month or so. So obviously we'll stay connected. If you're not in the school community, make sure you are. Let me just drop. If just curiosity, is anyone not in the school community on this call? Just type no. If you're not, I'll probably quickly get the link and give that to you as well. If everyone's on there, then no need. We can wrap this one up and call it a day. Okay, there's a few no's. All right, Cindy, Cameron, here's school link. I believe you have to create an account to get access to the school community. But again, there's a lot of resource on there when it comes to raising capital, doing HMO deals. The HMO starter kit is there to kind of give you a foundation knowledge on how principally this stuff works at a very like basic level. So I think like an hour of content on just HMO, and obviously a lot of stuff packaged for understanding the process and the business model as well. So definitely a good place to consume some content. But yeah, guys, it's been amazing. I'm gonna leave you to it, and hopefully we'll see some of you inside the mastermind community. Take care, guys. Have a good evening.